What's up, guys? Welcome to take 2 of Down the Middle. We just started our episode, and even in season 2, we're still only like 16 episodes in, so we're going to make mistakes.
Press record.
So we forgot to press the giant red record button. Luckily, you caught it, dude. Because I was just
we could have just gone.
We could have went at 30 minutes and realized it.
Yeah,
it would have been fun. That's the thing about like what we do is I don't care. Like I really don't care about. Like, these could just be fake cameras over here, and this could be a fake thing, and it could just be us. This is an excuse for us to just chat.
Yeah.
Wear funny headphones and professional
sound
mics.
better.
We sound better. Sound cooler.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's dive in. We were talking
about Joe Rogan, and he is getting canceled once again. I don't know why. I don't think he's ever able to be canceled. He is the media combined. All the media sources couldn't beat him as a media source.
Did you see the photo I reposted? No. The other day, that was on Twitter. So it is. So this is the graphic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and
retweeted
it shows the Nielsen Spotify rating. So JRE, and this is from Q3 2021. So I'm sure it's a little different now. But if anything, the numbers have gotten bigger for him and lower for mainstream media. So average views per show in millions. Joe Rogan Experience 11 million. Tucker Carlson, 3.24, The Five, 2.98, Hannity, 2.94, Fox News Primetime, 2.37, Ingram, 2.35. Those are all Fox News programs, by the way. We haven't even got nobody on MSNBC or CNN's hit it yet. Then we have Rachel Maddow, who's the biggest, probably on the left, 2.2 million, MSNBC Primetime, 1.27, and CNN Primetime, 0.82.
Dying.
0.82.
Full death.
Prime time. That's prime time, right? And that's, I'm sure, looping in all of the airports and barbershops and malls and just somehow CNN they hacked into like every public TV and just put CNN on.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else actually watched it, but the point of the tweet that's going, not tweet, but like on Twitter, the trend that's going viral is because 270 doctors and scientists signed a petition to Spotify saying that Joe Rogan is basically causing societal harm and damage, and it's dangerous for our country and our people and our world. Essentially, that's the gist of it. Is like his program is dangerous because he's spreading
he's creating questions.
He's spreading misinformation on COVID. He's spreading misinformation on all this stuff, and it's interesting because where I kind of draw the line, and I think a lot about this, is like, is it the content or is it the reach, or is it a combination of the two? Because there is a lot of content out there that I would consider way more dangerous or damaging or just
his is educational.
Lies or misinformation. I mean, if you go on YouTube right now, the amount of content you could find that's just crazy conspiracy theories, total BS, right? Like, I'm sure there's still like tens of millions of view videos on flat Earth, on all kinds of stuff, right? Like, again, comparing, flat earthers to people that believe COVID's a hoax, maybe a little different, right? One isn't going to cause any issues, right? Health-wise or whatever. But I think what it comes back to is like, if you actually listen to his show, and I think this is the big thing, I think it's hard to have an opinion and talk about something unless you've actually engaged with it, interacted with it beyond a superficial level, right? I think most people that talk about most things don't actually have a deep understanding of it.
Right.
They read a headline and then they jump to a conclusion and they have a whole opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I try my best to, before I talk about something, to at least
do some research,
and try my best to research it from the purest source possible, which is really difficult, right? Everything's biased to an extent.
And that's why we have, there's other society, culture, kind of like podcasts that talk about 17 things in one. And I listen to some, and I kind of get annoyed. I'm like, because I know deeper knowledge of some of the things that they're talking about, and I'm like, you guys sound like idiots. And so when we talk, we usually 4 topics, 3 to 4 topics, but like we kind of dive in, you know what I mean? Instead of just going like, hey, here's everything about everything, we kind of know it. That's false. Like, there's no possible chance.
Yeah, and so I think if in average JRE episodes, 3 to 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So most people that are up in arms about this and retweeting and on the hashtag, I would venture to say, have not listened to one full episode, let alone dozens, or have searched his back catalog and stuff. If you did that, the guy has done 1,760 or so episodes over a decade. He has had on crazy people. He's had on people that have, bad ideas, but he's also had on brilliant people and people with great ideas. I think what Joe Rogan's doing, and listen, it's Joe Rogan. He'll even say he's the guy from Fear Factor. He's a stand-up comic. He's self-deprecating
all the time.
He tells you on every episode, basically, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Like he puts a disclaimer out there on every episode, right? What he does do incredibly well, which I think more people should learn from, is he is willing to sit down and have a open, unedited, unfiltered conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
And I think some people view that and say, well, you're giving that person a platform. And I think a lot of other people will look at it and say, okay, you might be giving them a platform, but it's also, if they're crazy, a platform to embarrass themselves, right? It's like, if you're an idiot and you're spewing just stupid, ridiculous stuff with no backup, like, you're going to look like an idiot to a lot of people. Sure, some people who are gullible and susceptible may believe it, but like, I think if these doctors really wanted to change anything and really cared about, like, the kind of the mainstream media and this small fraction of scientists and kind of upper echelon, politicians and business people and educators, right, in colleges and stuff, keep talking about how, this is just dangerous and they have this platform and we shouldn't allow them to have a voice and what they're spreading is so harmful to society and everything. Getting rid of them on a platform is not going to change the minds of the people that already believe it. And this is what's so infuriating, because what they're saying is so hypocritical to what their actions are, right? Like, if you want to change people's minds and what they're believing is dangerous, then what you should do is not say, Spotify, cancel Joe Rogan, because all that'll happen, and this is already happening, is he's getting bigger because you're bringing more attention to it.
Right.
And if Spotify did cancel him, he's fabulously rich. He has a lot of supporters. He'll start his own platform. He'll still have his voice and his platform. You're not going to change anything. You're just going to further entrench people that believe in him. What you should want to do is go onto his show like Sanjay Gupta did, right? He had Sanjay Gupta on. Like this again, like people think he's just only having on a certain viewpoint. He has on whoever is willing to come on a show. He had Sanjay Gupta on for over 3 hours, and they went back and forth. And they both share data. They both share information, and people can walk away with that, with what they want to walk away with it. Mm-hmm. The guy he had on just last week, I'm drawing a blank on his name, who called him out on the myocarditis stuff. He said, hey, the data you've been using is not correct data. Like, this is what I'm using. And Joe said, okay, I didn't see that. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And he admitted it on his show. And he admitted it on Twitter. Like, he has on people that prove him wrong and that share opposite viewpoints all the time. So these doctors, instead of signing a petition, say, hey, the petition should be, we want to go on your show and we want to debate you. And Joe would have them on. I guarantee you would say, of course.
Yeah.
You want 3 of you to come on, 4 of you to come on over. Yeah. And we'll talk. We'll spend 4 or 5 hours, however long you want. But they don't want to do that, right? They don't want to have a debate.
Which hurts their case.
Yeah. They don't want to have a discussion, right? What I believe is that most of these individuals are just terrified of losing control.
Right.
They're terrified of the fact that a professional, fight commentator, comedian, Fear Factor host now has more views on a show per episode than every other mainstream media host does combined. And that terrifies people. If you've had control for decades and decades and decades, that's scary. Right. And so what do? You fight. Yeah. And if you can't fight on content and substance, then you try to get them removed, and you figure out ways to get them removed. Like this, it's so obvious, and it's infuriating that that not everybody sees this for what it is.
I think more and more too, though, like it's becoming more of a problem for them because people, whatever, left, right, anywhere, all the people that are criticizing everyone's just getting sick of this. Like Omicron, Digicron, whatever you want to do, bro. Like, people are just like, yeah, everyone has it. Everyone's had it. Like, no one wants to stop living anymore. And it's getting so forced that it just starts to become like ridiculous. And the thing about Joe Rogan, because it really just goes back to that and the whole thing he did with the COVID and the vaccines and saying he was taking like the horse tranquilizer stuff, and it all got out of context. CNN made his face all look super sick, and that went viral. That made it better for him, but worse for them.
And nobody's saying cancel them or cancel Rolling Stone for running that totally fake article after a single source saying that there was, gunshot victims couldn't get to the hospital because of ivermectin. Like,
yeah,
you guys say ridiculous lies and bullshit all the time, right?
But that's okay to say now. Like, it's becoming like, I don't know, man, censorship is becoming a real, it is and it isn't, because like you said, like you can't create a law of actually censoring him. You could probably shut him, Spotify, Twitter, all these things, and then he would do like what Trump's trying to do, would just come out with his own network and say like, hey, I'm more now inclined to like speak and get a little bit more biased and kind of be in this pocket. I wonder too, like on some conspiracy theory stuff, like how many of those doctors are paid by Pfizer, by big companies to say, hey, you guys are the top, go attack, because there's probably doctors that have his back, doctors that don't have his back.
Yeah, and this is the funny but also sad thing is that there is such a history. People like forget so quickly that we have 100+ years of data showing that the government has lied to us so many times. Politicians have lied to us. Big pharma has lied to us. Big business has lied. Like, this isn't a new idea that these big companies are corrupt and do bad things. That the government has corrupt people and does bad things. They lie to us, right? And there's now this like people just think the government is so good and big pharma is so good. They really care about us, and everything they're saying and doing is for our genuine
it's
health.
Never been that.
It's never been that way. So why would it start today?
Right.
And I agree. It's you look at the opioid crisis. It was so many doctors were getting bribed. We're getting paid vacations. We're getting all these things to just shell out Oxycontin to anybody that had even a hinkering of pain. And when they came back in and said, hey, I'm not feeling great and stuff, they upped the dose. Like, terrible, terrible stuff that doctors have done. Just because they went to medical school doesn't mean they're not human beings. And human beings are susceptible to corruption. They have egos. They have greed. They want things. They can be bought. They can be bribed. A medical degree doesn't change that.
Yeah, like our level business, it's about us making money, some changes, but like big business, it's about like massive movements, right? Like, this is a variation. I'm stepping a little away from it, but this is a variation of 2008, like that, and that's a variation of the opioid crisis. It's not the situation or mortgages or drugs. It's money. Yep. It's just money. Like, hey, this is working for us at massive scale. Fucking run, right? Anybody can get a house. Anybody can get an opioid. Everyone has to take a vaccine. Like, it's financial, and you have to, at least, I don't care where you stand with it, you have to look at it and go, well, that kind of does make sense. At least I'm going to question it a little bit.
Two things can be true, right? Like, there can be greed, and there can also be people that want to do good. Like, something can be good for you or be beneficial to society, but also the motivation could be money. Like, I think there's this belief that everything's binary. Everyone's on a side. And that's why in the show we've talked about, like, listen, I got the vaccine. I did what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people, the vaccine is a good thing.
Totally.
Right. But I can also believe the reality that, do I think Big Pharma is doing this totally out of the goodness of their heart?
Yeah.
No, because if they were, they would just give the vaccine away for free.
Yeah.
Right. They're not giving it away for free.
No.
They're not helping third world countries. In fact, they're actively fighting to block third world countries from creating their own cheaper vaccines because they're infringing on patents. Like, those aren't good people.
That is financial as fuck.
Those aren't altruistic people. The CEO of Pfizer and Moderna are not altruistic do-gooders out there, right? They're capitalists. They're CEOs. And again, this is the hypocrisy, and this is not just a left thing. This is a right. Everyone on the political spectrum is hypocrites on a lot of stuff. But the one on the left that's funny is, like, for years and decades, it was greedy CEOs. It was the rich, and all they're terrible people, except the CEOs of Big Pharma. They're actually good people, right? They're fighting this good fight, and we need to support them and stuff. It's like, No, they're the same greedy assholes that they were 5 years ago when you pulled them in here for corruption and for everything. Like,
yeah, they're still making
change.
15 million a year.
Yeah. Speaking of, we can transition a little bit, but you were saying, how everything is, everything still goes back to COVID, and it was like, it's almost become laughable at this point. How everything has gotten tied to it. So there was this massive volcano that just occurred, right? In, what's it, Tonga?
Tonga.
And so I was searching about it, and it's just terrible devastation.
It's creating a tsunami effect.
Massive tsunami that hit crazy, hit the West Coast,
Insane.
like all kinds of insane stuff. Devastation. All the water supply on the islands probably contaminated and poisoned, and every communication's down. So it's just, we don't even really know how bad it is there, right? And so I was Googling it and looking at, trying to get satellite photos and see what was going on, see if there's anything I could do to support it, right across, whatever. And I shit you not, one of the top articles, New York Times, it's how COVID could cause more damage. I forget the exact headline. I'll have to pull the exact headline out, but it was basically, the argument was like that aid workers now are going to come to the island that's basically been protected from COVID and bring COVID, and it's going to cause all this. It's like, really? You couldn't just give one natural disaster, one news event.
They're dying out there.
Can we just not talk about COVID? It's like every single story, every single angle, it's got to tie back to COVID. And people are just sick of it. It's just like at this point, people are sick of it. And I think there's a small bubble of people that are still so terrified, and they're still in this very scared bubble that they live in. But most people are just like, guys, we're over 2 years into this. Like, everyone's getting it.
Got it.
There's, everyone's getting it regardless of what they did.
Right.
Whether you're in New York and you went so extreme to have passports
triple
vax, everyone's getting it there. Whether you're Australia and you're running this crazy place where you won't let a single tennis player in because he got COVID a few months ago and didn't get vaccinated, even though he was already on the island for like 2 weeks. Again, makes no sense. And sent him back. They're at 1 million cases a day.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere, this virus, the Omicron variant, is so contagious. Everybody's getting it. And whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, you're spreading it. They're now saying that the masks, cloth masks, do basically nothing. You need to have N95s at a minimum. So at this point, it's like, can we just accept that everybody's going to get it, continue to focus on what we can control, which is protecting the vulnerable, the elderly, the immunocompromised, the people that have comorbidities, protect them, isolate them, focus on helping them. But for the most of us, like, everyone just needs to just move on. I'm so sick of it. Like, let's talk about some other important things. Because again, this is, for 2 years, it's basically been as if every other major issue that's
doesn't
impacting
matter.
Our country, impacting our globe,
gets swept
doesn't
under.
matter, right? I wish the media, I wish the government spent a fraction of the effort they've spent on COVID on any other issue, literally any other issue. We would solve so much stuff if we spent a fraction.
Forcing hunger. Like,
even we talked about it on the show because it's personal to me. I mean, 100,000 people overdosed last year. 100,000 people. 93,000 the year before. We've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans die from drug overdoses in the last few years.
It does not get discussed.
Nobody talks about it. It's literally an article every few months, maybe, right? That is a major problem. We're talking hundreds of thousands of deaths of Americans due to something that can be addressed, that can be fixed, right? And it just, we'll share when the stat came out, we wrote a few articles and
they probably had
that's
COVID.
it. They probably, So how can we tie COVID into it? It's like anything. Let's talk about heart issue, like heart health. Let's talk about like obesity. It's the fact that half of our country is obese. Like, all these things that matter way more in the long run. Because again, people say, there's a whole thing about like, how there's a hashtag trending about Australia right now being like a terrible place and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I see the response that some of the people that are like pro what Australia did, comparing it to the US, saying, well, hey, we've had, our death per million is way lower than yours and all this stuff, so we've handled it better. It's like, no, the reality is that Americans are just fat as fuck.
Right.
And out of shape and unhealthy.
The fattest.
Like, there's no one else near our level. Again, I'm not a scientist, not a doctor, but I would would venture to say that's probably one of the major reasons why we have so many deaths in this country from COVID.
For sure.
Is because a lot of people are not just a little overweight, are morbidly obese.
Yeah.
And have diabetes, have all kinds of issues. And so when they get COVID, if they were healthy and in shape, a lot more of them would have not, doesn't mean that you can't die from it or get very sick from it, but it's a lot fewer people. So like we should be focusing on things we can control. Like it should be like instead of sending out, all these things and sending out more tests and more resources and stuff, why don't we just send out like a daily, let's send out a trainer to everybody. Let's pay for every single American to have a gym membership.
Planet Fitness.
Let's send every American a workout kit.
Right.
Like for the amount of money we're spending on reactive stuff, let's send out every American gets, a meal kit, a
start doing what England does. Like there's a lot of red dye 40, all these little things, like they're not allowed in a lot of places. Like we're just like, just toss it in.
Put poison in your body.
It's literally approved by the FDA. Red dye 40 is like, it shows that it damages your brain function. And it's just it's a BS food additive, but that's approved just like vaccine, just like everything. Like that is a huge deal. All the stuff that we consume. I mean, even like we do this, but like even what's inside of our energy drinks and this and that, and the other, like a lot of that stuff shouldn't be legal.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It should not be legal, but that's okay because it's profitable, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and frankly, it's hard. Like that's the big thing, which is ironic for our country because our country is built on hard work, and we have such a culture of hard work and work ethic and stuff. When it comes to fitness and your personal well-being, we are so lazy, right? It's a lot easier to just eat McDonald's every day, watch 12 hours of TV, get zero exercise, and then when you get a disease, take a pill for it and be reactive and get massive medical bills than it is to go, don't have to go weightlift, go to the gym. Go outside, walk for an hour each day. Walk for an hour each day. Underrated. And you walk for an hour each day and you actually eat smaller portions and you actually cook your food and stop ordering out and getting fast food, you'll lose weight. Like it's not rocket science.
Right.
You do a few little things and you'll be much healthier.
Yeah. Well, that is just our opinion on what's going on right now. But in other news, let's talk about another topic here. Max and I just bought some JPEGs. Very excited about them. So we bought some. This is not financial advice. We're also idiots. We're hopefully going to crush this, but we don't know. So over the weekend, I just went crazy on like NFTs. All my crypto portfolio is embarrassingly down. And we made kind of like a decision with me and Max. Like he's going to get into like DAOs and figure out how like we can do a few things there. I'll try to like cover the NFT side of stuff because and then there's still like gaming, crypto. There's so much, right? Like you can't do it all. So I went in and I started looking, researching. I found these guys called DeadFellaz. That kind of bought a couple of those. That got me into Undead Pastel, which I like the project because it's owned kind of like normally no one knows who owns anything, right? So this guy is a Bored Ape Yacht Club owner of one of the Bored Apes, and he created Undead Pastel Club, which is kind of like dead mutant pastel looking apes, pretty cool looking like designs and stuff. And then what they want to do, the roadmap is that they're basically buying land. They just bought a 3x3 plot of land in Sandbox, and so as owners, to be able to keep and start creating revenue from there, we're going to be getting revenue from the land. Exactly how much and all that's all to be determined. So Max and I both scooped a couple.
Look at that guy.
Yeah, they're pretty dope looking, but. Yeah, so my idea with this and what I've been researching and kind of like diving deep into YouTube, and if anybody wants to like come in and like be better and like teach us some of this, totally fine, because we don't know what we're talking about. We're just trying. But the concept that I've seen right now with NFTs is you've got your like blue chips, right? Your real Bored Ape, Mutant Ape, your big ones, and then you've got your other ones that realistically they could last, could not last. Gary Vee talks a lot about these. There are a lot of people are heavily invested. You hold them for a little bit, some, and then you flip them. Others you can kind of like jump in. You know the project's gonna spike up because a lot like the pastel apes, they came in like a lab vial and then they changed into something, right? So when they're in the vial, you could have flipped them. It probably made like 3x on that, and then they go back down because, like everything, people pump it, they dump it, and they want to make money through that. So the strategy that I've seen a lot of people do is they do a little pump and dump. They kind of buy 2 or 3, and then they hold 1 or 2 to see if the project's going to have a fruition. So I'm going to start testing some of that with Max, and we're going to start giving you some results. We'll be transparent. If we lose money, we lose money. I lost like $40,000 last week on a DAO. Technically, I didn't lose it if you don't take it out, but the DAOs are not doing very well either. But I'm excited about this project with the Undead Pastels, and I'll keep. OBJ has one. Beckham's son has one. Like there's a Fred Durst bought one. So I don't know if the Kygo just bought one. So I mean, there's some good traction on this one. And I think it's going to be something that's going to get into like the tens possibly in like the next year.
Discord, what's like 120,000 people?
Crazy.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And it's, it's sold out in 16 minutes or so.
That's insane.
It's got a good amount of holders. It's traded, I think, like 3,200 ETH so far in OpenSea, which is always good to see.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to continue to go. They're still working hard on it. You can always kind of tell when a Discord is popping, like that's a good project. When the Discord's kind of dead, you're like, yeah, there's nothing here. I've also talked to a lot of people that have launched or been a part of launching NFTs, and they're like, if the thing doesn't sell out, you can just call it. Like that's the project is dead. But yeah, if you guys are interested, we get nothing out of this. Check out Undead Pastel Club, and also check out DeadFellaz. They're doing kind of the same thing. I think that a lot of these bigger, better projects that are trying to do something or trying, I kind of look at it as a fund, like a real estate fund, right? Like maybe it becomes a club or something. But if we can get a few, and they're going out and buying land, and we're getting a percentage of the land, we're in a fund. But it's a digital one, but like the way we bought into the fund is kind of like just by buying a token, right? Like an NFT. So it's kind of cool. I just went down. It's kind of cool. It's a great project. And I think more of these things are going to start happening. Like CyberKongz does the same thing. And they're going to start kind of copying that model because no one really knows what else to do right now with NFTs. Like it's kind of like the Wild West. Gary Vee's trying to create massive. His conference is like a 3-day Coachella with business. So that's cool. But it's like $100,000 almost to buy one of those things. I'm not going to a conference for $100K. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. And I don't know if you can pass the $100K. Like, what are you doing next year? Why would that keep going up and up and up? So it's weird still, like with NFTs, how they're going to continue. Like the only one I see the roadmap, and it's the country club of all country clubs. It's Bored Ape, right? That one. Cyberpunks. I haven't even heard like what they give you or what you get.
The CryptoPunks is an interesting one because it's still like crazy expensive.
But they don't.
Like, I don't hear Bored Ape. I hear about all the time. Hype, all the stuff they're doing. And again, could you be
launching a video game?
Not in the right circles or whatever, but like I literally have heard zero about what the roadmap is for that, other than the fact that it's just kind of one of the OGs and everyone tried to copy it and it's valuable because everyone says it's valuable, which is at the end of the day, I mean, that's a lot of how assets are valued, right? It's
that's
like,
true.
In the short term, at least.
Right,
it's all psychology, even stocks, right? That's why there's PE multiples on stocks because you're willing to pay for the future and you're trading on what people are willing to pay for it now. Like it's not, a perfect one peg, which is like a price earnings to growth ratio. But like, but yeah, it's interesting. What I'm curious about is at a certain point, like, is there a number that like Bored Ape or Punks hit where it just can't go up anymore? Like, because is there 10,000 of each of those?
Yeah.
So
9,999. Like,
let's say it hits a million each. Like that's 10,000. Is there 10,000 people out there that have a million? I mean, there's obviously 10,000 people that have $1 million, but 10,000 people that have a million kind of sitting around there willing to buy an NFT on. Like you kind of narrow the pie down of people that have that type of money.
Right.
And then people that have that type of money that actually know about NFTs, and people that have that type of money that know about NFTs that are also willing to buy in at a, kind of the top. Like obviously you're getting celebrities in now who just like, they don't give a shit about the investment. They're buying it. It's like a flex. It's cool. So you're getting that percent of people. But I am curious if it hits a point where it's just like, there's no more.
Let's say the floor becomes a full million, right? It's like almost 300K now, but let's say it's a full million. Okay, cool. And some are going for 5, some are going for 7, whatever, right? Some are even going for $14 million, depending on the rarity. Okay, you buy that one. You buy the $7 million one. Okay, now I want to buy that one. like, why would I buy, like, that's a house in Beverly Hills. Like, why would I buy that instead of a house in Beverly Hills? Like, because where's the value now? Like, what else am I getting? Cool events, cool this. Like, for $9 million though, like, it's got to be the flex.
Well, at a certain point too, it's like, do you just, like, let's say there, eventually there's one that's like 20 million. Like, could you just start your own really exclusive club for $20 million? It's like throw some crazy, like, I'm gonna buy this badass little club, like cigar club, and invite, pay, The Rock and a few people to come show up and hang out. You can afford it.
Yeah. You can get Kygo for $1 million. You can do it in the Bahamas at an exclusive section for only 200 people or whatever, and just even a smaller one. You can do, it's 20 mil, right? Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, what's going to warrant that? How is that going to be looked at later on? Because at the beginning, because with the ones that you can get, okay, if you keep going, they keep doing it, and you keep buying real estate, okay, I can see that I'm getting a yield based off holding this thing, right? I'm investing in that. But if it's like the Vibe Country Club ones, it's like, dude, at one point, like, yeah, I'm not in the club. Sorry. Like, I'm just not a part of the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the risk you always run with any club is that once people get in and spend, like, let's say 6 months to a year in there, and they meet who they want to meet, then there's no reason for them to keep it because they have the relationships now.
Right.
So that's always the risk with masterminds, right? So people can join, go for a year, make the connections they want, and then they could bounce, and they have the connections, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to have new people, and they miss out on that. But, like, for a lot of people, that's worth it. So I guess though that's probably maybe a good thing actually for it, because that creates more selling, right? People sell, they buy in because there's, they want to be in for a few months.
I wonder if something will happen and you start selling at a loss, like flash. So, hey, everything went down. What would have to happen for something like that? Or do the blue chips stay like a gold standard? Like, gold is, these are the high ones, and then you can just flip and work on the smaller ones, right? It's interesting, man. I'm still trying to figure out what the best strategy is for you and me when we launch ours. Because I definitely want to do it. I see it. I just feel like there's got to be some sort of value. And
I've actually seen a few on OpenSea projects recently that have like 300 or 500 that are selling at really good floors. And like I think that makes a better play.
Because it creates exclusivity. At one point, 10,000 ain't exclusive, bro. It's 10,000.
Yeah, that's what gets weird, right? Is this arbitrary number that got set of 10,000 that everyone just follows? It's like, why not try to do something for like 10? Like, I feel like there's so much cool stuff that's being done by making it way more exclusive, right? Doing just 10 or 100 or doing these limited edition stuff. Because that's what's the what's it? I always pronounce their name wrong, but it's like RTFKT, like they got bought by Nike. They do like the crazy shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they do a lot of really crazy one-off stuff, which is really cool. Obviously, they have Clone X and they have other things that there's more of them, but like, to me, I think that's super cool, and I see the value long term is like them doing one-off NFTs or small batch NFTs for shoes. Yeah. That then they make you a physical version of that shoe in the real world, and you get it. Like, this sick tie, and they've done that. This tie-in between the digital good and the physical good that gives you a digital collectible and a physical collectible. That's really cool to me. Yeah. And I think Nike's going to expand upon that. I think you're going to see more and more big brands that are going to start doing that. Which I get. I see the long-term play there as well.
Yeah, and I see the Bored Apes. They're just active, man. They got Bored Apes, then they did the Mutant Apes, and then now they have the Bored Ape Kennel Club, which is like a companion dog. Like, you get one, essentially, if you have a Bored Ape, but then they sell them, and so it just keeps moving, right? And at one point, the dogs they have no value now. Like, if you read, because I was going to buy one, and it just says, like, nothing matters to us if you have this. You're not a part of the club. So I was like, all right, well, it's kind of pointless to buy the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a way to also make money, right? So it's like, if you're holding this, we're gonna keep doing mints of new projects that you can then sell.
And they're doing a video game, so you'll be able to, it's kind of like a little vibe. Like, that's my character, that's my dog, that's shooting bananas, some stuff like that. So it's cool. The metaverse is very crazy. So we'll always keep you guys abreast of what we're doing with that. What other topic do we have today? I know you had one
we
more.
can talk about how I this is why I've shared this before, like day trading and just like being an active trader. Like, your chance of being in the market is so slim.
Right.
They've done study after study after study in every country you could think of, and the results are always the same. It's always between like 75 to like 95% of people in the first year lose money.
Right.
Like usually like an average of like 35%. And so I had bought Activision Blizzard like a year ago or something like that.
Nice.
And it just instantly went down, and it had a really shitty, it just like tanked. And end of the year, I always look at, tax loss harvesting, right?
Yeah.
And, a lot of studies have shown that tax loss harvesting, which essentially is, let's say you've bought, 10 stocks this year, for anybody that's listening, and, 5 of those stocks you've lost money on.
Yeah.
Selling them so you can then write off the loss, take the deduction, and then redeploy that capital into new investments. And in the long run, that actually is a really great strategy, especially if you're making a lot of money, where capital gains.
People are doing that with NFT now.
Yeah. Can really suck. The NFT one we can talk about in a second. That's interesting, because that's just like that's going to get shut down at some point, because it's a game of transferring wallets and shit.
Right.
Because it's like you're declaring it yourself, right? So I sold it. That was one of the batches of things. I was like, I'm down like 40% on this. Like, I'm not that excited in it. Like, there's no momentum right now. It's like, it's not video game season. Like, there's not, right? And with everything happening in the metaverse and digital gaming, I didn't see it, right? They're already really big. So I sold it. And then I wake up this morning and see Microsoft just acquired them in an all-cash deal it's the biggest video game deal in history.
$70 billion.
$70 billion, all cash. Stocks up. It was up
crazy.
39%.
So you're back.
Pre-market, I think it's up like 28% now. So it's like, in the grand scheme of things, it was like a tiny amount. I didn't invest a lot in it, but it's just like timing, right? It's like people believe that they can beat the market and they can know things and stuff. You lose a lot of your bets, right? Like if you try to be an active trader, even if you are super knowledgeable, do a lot of research, like because you can be right. And this, I guess, is the big thing with investing. It's
right.
You can be right and still lose all your money because you don't time it right.
Yeah, you can be. I think of it like you can be right, just not right now. Like
exactly.
I'm not taking. Like the 45 that I'm down. I didn't lose it in time. I'm just gonna stick with it. I'm like whatever. Like I called a few of my boys that are doing bigger stuff with crypto, and they're like, if it was like 10K, I'd take it out. If it's like 45, 50, and it's more than that, it's like 70. It's just down 45. They're like, just keep it, dude, because but you're probably not going to be able to see it for, a year. I was like, all right, my brain works like I still have that 45 there.
Well, the math right on that, I think I did the math when I invested in it like 2 months ago, which is like, even if the price drops 90%, I think it's still a 400% return over the year.
Right.
If you hold it. Now, again, that's assuming that the APY stays the same, which it won't. It'll go down. But even saying, let's say like the price goes 90%, the APY gets cut in half, all that stuff, like you're still going to be up over the year because of the compound, right?
As long as it's over the year.
As long as you're looking over the year.
That's part of their big play, right? And I think with everyone's flash selling, the thing about especially coins, it happens in the stock market, but coins are like 1,000,000% more. Like there is like 90% of the people that are doing it are not even unseasoned. They're noobs.
Totally.
And so when they see something, they rush to something else. They don't even like dollar cost average. They don't look at like, well, I lost money here. I'm negative going into more negative paying for a new coin that's probably going to go down. They just find anything they can to like be spread out. And so that creates this hysteria, which makes people freak out even more, which drops the prices. Then FTX or something else goes big boy, boom, everyone. It's just FOMO hype and no like real thought process of like, well, this is a good idea. The APY is going to yield me so much growth if I stick with it. No, well, you said no, I said no. We're all gone. And that's the big issue.
I think it's a lot of uneducated investors. I mean, there's a lot of that in the stock market too.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, I think the other difference is when crypto's up, down 10, 12%, a lot of the time for most people, they have no understanding of why.
Right.
It's like the stock market, like right now it's fucking brutal today.
Yeah.
And it's because interest rates are going up, right? And that is not a good thing for growth stocks, not a good thing for growth in general. So it's easy to understand, okay, the market's down because of this news. It's understandable, and this is the path going forward. We know what's going to happen here. Like we have historical precedent.
Right.
So you can think long term. With crypto, it's like it just dropped 25%. Why? It's like, because, mainly because everyone just borrowed a ton of money and got called. But like, why did it start going in the first place? It's like some people are, do the technical stuff, but like, I think a lot of it's most of the market's run in psychology. It's just FOMO and people panic sell.
Right.
And people do the exact opposite thing of what you should do, right? A lot of people in crypto, they buy high and they sell low.
Yeah. Dude, most wealthy people care about two things. They care about getting a minimum consistent compounding return and just not losing the money.
Yeah. Not losing your principal.
That's it. Just don't lose your principal and grow 8, 7, 10% year over year on continue to invest and compound that wealth. It is that simple. It's just not that fun. No. It's not fun at all. It's boring. It seems like I'm just wasting money and it's not here this year or next year or next year. But 7 years from now, 10 years from now, you're like, holy shit, man, we have so much money.
Yeah, and if you want to gamble.
Take some bucks out.
Take a few points of your portfolio and mess around with it. Like that's what I'm doing with anything in DAOs, like Wonderland or Rome, whatever. It's like, if I lose all this money, it's not going to change my life at all. It's going to have zero impact on how I live my life. Same thing with even NFTs.
Yeah. It's like, listen, if I can flip this, fun, take the principal out. Now we're just working for free. Cool, having fun. Like I like the way these things look.
Exactly.
This like silly reasons for
even the Undead
Pastel
ball. It's like, okay, $2,000. Like if this goes to zero, okay, I still think it looks pretty cool.
I still want a shirt.
Art,
yeah.
And like I'll get one of those NFT frames and I'll have it in its art. Like people spend money on art all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Nothing, I enjoy it and I'm buying it for that reason.
I look at it for the same space. I'm like, these are cool. Like I got a buddy of mine who makes like custom sneakers and I bought a DeadFellaz and I was like, dude, can you make like Air Force Ones like this? He's like, oh, that's sick. That one's mine. Like it's kind of like cool. Worst case scenario, like I have cool stuff. Best case scenario is we can actually flip it and make some money or get some good yields or returns from it.
Yeah, it's like that Hapes project. I really think is cool because they look insane.
Hate Beast.
Hate Beast.
They look sick.
They look insane. So that's another thing. It's like I think that project's going to go.
I think that's going to go viral.
But even if it doesn't, I think they just
I would still want to scoop
incredible.
One. Yeah,
and there's some like mecha projects that I've seen that's like just like really cool, beautiful, badass art.
Yeah, the guys that did that Nike bought, they have stupid dope designs.
Insane.
Their designs are just like movie looking stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. So anyway, there you have it. That's my big trade loss for the month.
Yeah,
and I think it's important. Like I think sharing losses is something that not enough people do.
Totally.
I think in our industry, especially the marketing world.
Yeah.
Everyone shares that isolated big win. They share their big ROAS campaign. They isolate it down to an individual ad, right? Like their 1 month of a Shopify store. Everything is just the win.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's healthy for the masses. I think most people then look on social media that are getting started, that are struggling, like, I'm a failure. I'm going to lose. Look at all these people that are doing so well. Why am I not doing well?
Right.
The reality is that all those people, all the big guys, right, they all make losing bets a lot. They make losing trades a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just the way it works. You lose a lot of the investments you make, the bets you make.
That's it.
But you have a few huge home runs and you have some, consistency and stability. And I think sharing those losses and sharing those failures is something like I even think at some point maybe worth creating a podcast or show or a channel dedicated just to sharing losses and failures. Yeah. I think it would do really well. Like a super vulnerable show where you're just talking about everything that's happened this week that was bad. Like this failed. I did this didn't work.
We should make that a topic next week. Everything we're doing that's not going well.
Yeah.
Just to be transparent. Cause like, I don't care. Cause I'm not stressed about it.
Yep.
It's just things that happen in life. Like the 45, I put it on Instagram and everyone was like, oh dude, like, some people are like, you're an idiot. You suck. And some people are like, dude, thanks for putting it together. Like because at the bottom, I was like, I'm not stressed out about it. I'm going to hold it. I'm doing more research. It's cool. Like it's part of the plan. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes it looks like you're losing, but you're on your way to a victory. You know what I mean? Like it could have been, it could go back up in 3 months and we're like, whoa, look at that. So it doesn't matter. One last thing that I want to say, because I was actually flying down here from Tom Shipley's house, and I got bored, woke up, and started watching some shows. This show, I was just trying to waste the time, but it's called Invasion on Apple. It's freaking sick, dude. I'm only 2 episodes in because it was just a quick flight. But it's basically a bunch of different stories from different characters, right? Like there's character development part 1, and then a little bit more on part 2. But there's aliens that are like taking over. Like there's just these earthquakes and these like tsunamis and things that are happening, and people don't know. They just think like the earth is kind of going crazy. And at the end of the second episode, you kind of see like, oh, whoa, they're there. And then that's kind of where I'm at. Apple, the thing looks like the movie Dune. Like it's sick looking, dude. So I think Apple is really like going to start stepping up on all their TV stuff. I kind of think they're going the HBO route. Like we're gonna do a few, no Netflix, but like they're gonna be fire. Like really well done, really well produced, really good content. So if you guys are into sci-fi stuff, I'm a nerd and I love sci-fi and like magic and all that kind of stuff, and aliens and anything like that. Watch the show Invasion and let me know what you guys think. If you
you check out Raised by Wolves on HBO. You'd like that. I just started that. Its second season just came out, and it's a similar type of. It's a sci-fi show set in a very distant future.
I saw episode 1 and I was like, "Yo, this is crazy."
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. So that is it for this episode, guys. Say hi to us on Instagram or anywhere else. At MaxFinn, at Los Hustle. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Later, guys.